Shana Tova, everyone. Happy New Year. It's such a joy to have so many people here feeling comfortable, be back in our sacred space together. Though those who are watching online, we feel always that pull of the invisible thread of love that connects us with loved ones wherever they are, this world and in the next. Before I begin my remarks this morning, I want everyone to pull your Machzor out, open back up to page 194, because I'm going to have us sing verses from the Torah by which God instructs us how it is that we're supposed to love without measure and without limits. By musical tradition, these verses are sung 3 times for emphasis. So I want us to sing with our inspiring music spiritual leadership. And as you sing, I want you to let the melody resonate and also really consider the words that we sing. Adonai, Adonai, el rachum v'chanun, erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, notzer chesed la'alfim, notzer avon v'fesha v'chata'a v'nakeh. My God, you are always present, merciful, gracious, compassionate, patient, kind, faithful, forgiving. Your love, O Lord, is without measure and without limits. Together, let us sing these ancient words.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'fesha v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'fesha v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'fesha v'chata'a v'nakeh.
Thank you again for sharing so beautifully with us. You guys can close your Machzors, but I want everyone to take a moment. You can close your eyes if you want for concentration. And ask yourself this question: who do I love? Go ahead, make a list in your mind. Who do I love? Who's on your list? Parents, children, spouse, siblings or other family members, the individual you're living with or dating, your friends, your community. Each of us needs to know our list. Who do I love? Because it's only after we've clearly identified our list that we can then ask, how am I continually demonstrating my love? What am I doing for the ones I love that continually shows in my words and actions that, like God's love, my love is always present, merciful, gracious, compassionate, patient, kind, faithful, and forgiving? What am I doing that continually demonstrates in my words and actions that, like God's love, my love is without measure and without limits? From Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, during this 10-day period of Yamim Narim, these days of awe, we're obligated to think back to the moments of this past year. We think to ourselves, when did I miss the mark? When should I have tried harder or done better? And I think our introspection should begin with the consideration of how we love. A midrash on the shofar blows, the blasts we just heard, teaches each and every shofar sound has a role in preparing our hearts and minds on how to love. Tekiah is the single long blast. Shivarim are the 3 medium-length blasts, and Truah the 9 short staccato sounds. And the Tekiah Gedola, the only extra long blast at the end. Jewish law regards these sounds, the first shofar sound, the Tekiah, with its long, straight sound, are the sounds of the bookends of our love. We always blast out Tekiah before and after the Shivarim and the Truah notes. We do this because our love comes first and our love comes last. Tekiah, according to the rabbis, also indicates the stability in our love, our discipline and consistency by which we will succeed in the mitzvah of our love. The second shofar sound, the Shivarim, the 3 medium-length blasts, according to the rabbis, represent the times of trouble when our love will most be needed. The wails of the Shivarim mark the reality that tragedy and seemingly insurmountable problems will inevitably arise for those we love. So we must respond with a love that provides comfort, strength, and hope. Shever means fracture, something that's cracked, something that's broken. And the rabbis say our love is most needed in the darkness that is Shevarim. Because our love is the light that will shine hope that tomorrow will be better than today. The third shofar sound, the Truah, the 9 short staccato sounds, signal that passive love is unacceptable. Truah is our giant alarm clock. Hurry up, awaken. Make your needed mid-course correction to love better. Truah brings clarity, alertness, focus to our love. The short staccato sounds remind us that progress is often measured in small steps, one foot after the other. But the path of love always needs to be walked. And the final blast, no blast afterwards, is the Tekiah Gedola. The long, stable, continuous sound is blown until there's no more breath to offer. And the rabbis say this is how we love. No measure, no limits. Every breath we take in this world, we're to dedicate ourselves how best to love. So I asked, who do I love? And now I ask, for each of us to ask, do I love enough? Do I love without exhaustion? Do I extend my compassion, my empathy to the ones I love over everything else? Love in Judaism is a verb, it's an action. As rabbi for our congregational family for these past 27 years, I know that a loving, sacred relationship will inevitably confront hard times. A spouse can lose their temper too quickly. A parent has a difficult child. A child has a parent who fails too much to meet their expectations. A family member, a friend, or someone else they love doesn't reciprocate their love appropriately. All of us experience frustration with someone we love. All of us will be disappointed by someone we love. But this is what's so important for all of us to recognize. We will disappoint someone who loves us. And it's in this recognition of how we also might disappoint that we search for the strength to push far beyond what might even seem reasonable for those we love. We do this because we want the ones who love us to do the same. There's a famous story of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidic Judaism. He once advised a parent who sought his counsel about a wayward child. The Baal Shem Tov compassionately listened to all of this child's horrible deeds. In every way, the child has been a source of disappointment to their parent. And after listening, the Baal Shem Tov asked the parent, "Do you love your child?" The parent was shocked by the question, practically shouted, "Of course I love my child." And then the Baal Shem Tov gently said to the parent, "Then love your child even more." We ask ourselves, who do I love? And now, in recognition that there is a limit to our days, what do we need to do to strengthen these bonds of love? Are we willing to set aside our agenda, our desire to be heard, so we can actually listen to the one we love, to understand their wants and their needs? Do we create a hospitable environment that nurtures our love? Have we set aside what we think we know so we keep an open mind and be open to new experiences? Have we stopped clinging to the hurts of the past? This morning, in the spirit of confessing sins, and with my children and family sitting in the far back, I want to confess that I struggle with all of this. Ezra, you don't have to nod so vociferously. I often want to register my disapproval of behaviors that I don't like. And the hardest thing I constantly have to remind myself to do, take a breath, maybe a few extra breaths, and ask myself, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? Is it kind? Is what I'm about to say or do really effective? And if I know that the answer is no, then I need to find the strength to change the trajectory of my next set of words or actions. And doing all of this is hard. It takes a lot of work. But if I really love this other person, what other choice do I have? Love takes work. There's no magic formula. People do fall in love, but it's only the constant effort that makes us stay in love. Ongoing commitment, selfless actions, a willingness to forgive and let go of the hurt. True love emerges from these positions of loving posture. Most committed couples possess their song. How many of you have a song? Anyone? Right? Their song. And this is the case for Roseanne and me. We had our song played at our wedding 35 years ago. We got married very young. And many years ago, Roseanne made for me an anniversary gift of the framed sheet music of our song, and she surrounded it by meaningful photographs. And this gift hangs prominently in our main hallway. I look at it daily, and I think about our song, which is entitled Never My Love by The Association. How many know it? A lot. A little bit of a generational divide, but a lot. Listen to the lyrics. You ask me if there'll come a time when I grow tired of you. Never, my love. You wonder if this heart of mine will lose its desire for you. Never, my love. What makes you think love will end when you know that my whole life depends on you? Never, my love. You say you fear I'll change my mind. I won't require you. Never, my love. How can you think love will end when I've asked you to spend your whole life with me? Never, my love. Never, my love. Those three words apply to all of our sacred relationships. This may also be a generational divide, but how many of you have seen Harry Met Sally? Right? It's one of my favorite movies. It's a charming rom-com. It's, I know, over 30 years ago, and those who haven't seen it or haven't watched it in a long time, I encourage you to do so. I enjoy so many scenes in that movie, but I especially appreciate the scene when the Billy Crystal character finally can articulate his love to the Meg Ryan character. Those who've seen the movie know these words so well. He tells her, I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend the day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely. It's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. I treasure this movie scene because it demonstrates if you love someone, you need to be all in. When we experience irritation from the one we love, we need to tell and show them, I'm all in. Roseanne's favorite musical, and I've spoken about it in the past, it's Les Mis. And over the years, we've seen this musical live more times than I actually know. And once we were sitting in the theater, and I was thinking to myself, again in the spirit of confession, I hate these narrow seats. I hate this little leg room. And I also was thinking to myself, and these tickets are so expensive. The sourness had set in. But as the show concluded, Jean Valjean sang, "To love another person is to see the face of God." And I looked at Roseanne smiling, and she was offering her standing ovation, and I found my sourness dissipating. I could see the face of God. And as Roseanne and I left the theater, I asked her, "Did you enjoy the show?" And her enthusiasm was as expected. She then asked me the same. And I responded with kavanah, the absolute truth in my heart. I really did. Now, she was a little shocked, but pleasantly surprised. She was surprised, and then we held hands, walking away. And I thought to myself, what greater happiness in life is there when we love and our love is reciprocated? We all know the declaration, "Love makes the world go around." According to the Jewish mystics, the Kabbalists, God created the world because love needs another to love. And all of God's commandments, all of the rituals are to remind us to proactively express our love. The essential thing in life is for us to learn how best to share our love. People often think, I love this other person because I need them. But true love is when we know in our heart, I need this person because I love them. And then in this acknowledgement of our true love with our words and actions, we consistently demonstrate our love is without measures or limits. Most of us know the story of Helen Keller. She was a woman that became deaf and blind when she was less than 2 years old. In 2003, I attended a celebration of the centennial year of Helen Keller's birthday, and I was reintroduced to how this woman overcame all the obstacles of her life. She went on to study at Harvard, at Radcliffe College. She became the first person with deaf blindness to earn a college degree. Helen lectured throughout the country about her life. In 1953, she was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And this nomination came after Helen had visited the Middle East in 1952. She met with local leaders to advocate for the rights of those who were blind or disabled. And the legacy of her visit still lives on at the Helen Keller School in Jerusalem. Now, Helen authored many books, and one of my favorites is entitled The Story of My Life. And she shared the presence and love that was so important to her. It was the presence and love that her teacher had shared with her. She wrote, "The most important day I remember in all my life is the one on which my teacher, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, came to me." Now, Helen Keller's life was initially lived in darkness that nobody could penetrate. How could someone come to her if she couldn't listen or talk? Can you imagine that? How is Helen brought to life, to light, to the amazements of life? Who could rescue her from darkness and her wilderness? But unexpectedly, this woman, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, appeared to Helen Keller. Anne taught the first word to Helen by drawing the word water on her arm with water. And on that day, Helen Keller's life was transformed. For the first time, she writes, she knew what love and hope was all about. Listen to how Helen describes the experience. Have you ever been at a sea in a dense fog when it seemed as if a tangible white darkness shut you in, and the great ship tense and anxious, groped her way toward the shore with plummet and sounding line. And you waited with beating heart for something to happen. I was like that ship before my education began, only I was without compass or sounding line and had no way of knowing how near the harbor was. Light, give me light, was the wordless cry of my soul, and the light of love shone on me in that very hour. Helen Keller's story is iconic. She was a frustrated child with no hope, but she writes her teacher's true and constant love is what saved her. She writes, a young child, a water pump, a child who is blind and deaf, a teacher who persistently spells W-A-T-E-R into the hand of the child over and over and over and over again in an attempt to communicate as the icy well water pours over this child's hand. I said, ask yourself, who do I love? Now listen to the words of Helen Keller. Love should not be viewed as a detached effect of the soul, or an organ, or a faculty, or a function. Love involves the whole body of conscious thought, intention, purpose, endeavor, motives, and impulses. Love is ready at any moment. Love works and talks and will not be checked by any external circumstance once it begins to move towards an objective. Love is the all-important doctrine. It's not vague, aimless emotion, but the desire for good united with wisdom and fulfilled in right action. We ask and we answer, who do I love? And then we begin to ask and keep asking, how with this new year will I love with intention, purpose, endeavor, motives, and impulses? How will I love as God commands us to love? Always present, merciful, gracious, compassionate, patient, kind, faithful, forgiving. How will I love without measures and without limits? Let me conclude by sharing a children's story by Robert Munch. Many of us are familiar with this book. Millions and millions of copies have been sold. Roseanne and I often read this story to our children when they were young, and we're looking forward to reading it soon to our now one-year-old grandson. And a lot of you know it. It's called Love You Forever. Love You Forever begins with a mother holding her new baby. She rocks him and sings a little song. I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. As the years go by, of course, the baby grows. He becomes a toddler, gets into everything. The mother says, the kid's driving me crazy. But at night, she still sings him their special song. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The baby grows some more. He's 9 years old, never wants to take a bath, and says bad words when his grandma visits. His mother feels like selling him to the zoo. But still at night, she sings their song. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The boy becomes a teenager, and of course, that's the worst. He has strange friends. He wears strange clothes. He listens to strange music. His mother feels like she's the one who lives in a zoo. But guess what? At night, when he's safely asleep, she still sings to him. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby, you'll be. And finally, the boy is all grown up. He moves into his own house. Sometimes on dark nights, the mother drives across town to his house, quietly enters into his house and sings. Well, we know what she sings, right? I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. At last, the mother is old. She's sick. She sings to her boy, but she isn't able to finish the song. Her son, however, has learned his lesson well. He knows what to do. Holding his mother close, he rocks her in his arms and sings to her. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be. And when he returns home that night, he stands for a long time at the top of the stairs. And then going into the room where his own new baby daughter is sleeping, he takes her in his arms and sings, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. That's the correct posture of love. When we ask and answer, who do I love? We need to make sure our loved one continually sees from our words and deeds that that's the posture of our love. Because I love you, I am present, merciful, gracious, compassionate, patient, kind, faithful, and forgiving. Because I love you without measure. I love you without limits. I love you all in. I'll love you forever. That's the posture of love. May we hold always to this posture of love. May our loved ones always know only our love. And may our new year bring happiness, health, and peace, and most importantly, love. Love to share and love to receive. And let us say, Amen.